The ancient Stoics were experts when it came to understanding human nature and emotions. Although they didn't write specifically about romantic relationships, their principles of self-control, emotional discipline, and keen insight into human behavior are timeless. These principles remain just as powerful today as they were centuries ago. The Stoics understood that emotions heavily influence our decisions, and they honed the ability to master these emotions. This mastery not only gave them control over themselves, but also allowed them to influence the people around them. In this video, we're going to explore how these same Stoic principles can be used to make women miss you, even if they weren't initially interested. The key to this lies in mastering your emotions and making subtle psychological moves. Believe me when I say that if you follow these 7 simple yet effective steps, 99% of women will find themselves thinking about you, wondering what you're up to, and starting to miss you. Stick with me until the end of this video for all the details. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And if you've had any personal experience with this, drop your story in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Now let's dive into the first step. Number 1, the power of silence. Don't contact her. It may sound counterintuitive, but the most effective way to make a woman miss you is to simply stop contacting her. This isn't about playing games or trying to manipulate her feelings. It's about creating a space that sparks curiosity, longing, and reflection. Human psychology teaches us that we value things more when we don't have constant access to them. When you're always there, always texting, always calling, you become a part of her routine. And while routines can be comfortable, they're rarely exciting. To make her miss you, you need to create an emotional vacuum where she starts to notice your absence. This is where the ancient Stoics come in. They were masters of emotional discipline and understanding human behavior. Their approach to life was rooted in controlling impulses, resisting the urge to react to external situations, and maintaining emotional distance. They didn't let their feelings dictate their actions. Instead, they embraced calm, detachment, and self-control. And you can apply this same philosophy to your interactions with women. When you stop reaching out to her constantly, you shift the dynamic. The Stoics believed in self-mastery and not being overly reactive to circumstances. In the same way, you need to resist the temptation to flood her with attention. When you do, she takes it for granted. But when you pull back, it creates a void, an absence that forces her to reevaluate the situation. Suddenly, she starts to wonder why you stopped texting, calling, or reaching out. Even if she wasn't particularly interested at first, your absence forces her to confront her own feelings. This is human nature at its core. We crave what we can't easily have. When something or someone is always present, we stop valuing it. But when it's gone, we begin to appreciate its worth. The mistake most men make is thinking they need to stay in constant contact to maintain a woman's interest. This couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, by practicing restraint, by not reaching out, you're demonstrating that you are not emotionally dependent on her for validation. You have your own life, and you don't need to drop everything just to chase after her. Consistency is key in this approach. If you go silent for a couple of days and then reappear with an explanation for your absence, you defeat the entire purpose of this tactic. The Stoic practice of emotional detachment doesn't require explanations. You don't owe her an excuse for why you've stopped contacting her. The more she wonders why you're distant, the more she'll begin to miss the attention she once took for granted. No explanation, no reason, just your absence. Picture this. She checks her phone, expecting a message from you as usual, but there's nothing. Hours pass, then days, and still no word from you. Slowly, she begins to question herself. What's going on? Did I do something wrong? The more she overthinks it, the more emotionally invested she becomes. And here's the beauty of this tactic. It makes her think about you far more when you're silent than when you were constantly texting her. This silence forces her to confront her feelings. Even if she wasn't initially interested in you, the absence you've created will make her wonder if she misjudged the situation. The attention she once took for granted is now gone, and she's left trying to figure out why she misses it. It's a psychological shift that pulls the rug out from under her expectations. The longer you maintain this distance, the stronger her feelings will become. Absence truly makes the heart grow fonder, and in this case, it will make her miss you, even if she wasn't particularly into you before. Silence isn't just the absence of contact, it becomes a challenge, a puzzle she's subconsciously compelled to solve. And in her attempt to figure out why you've gone quiet, she will find herself thinking about you far more than when you were always available. Another benefit of this strategy is how it changes your image in her mind. When you're not constantly seeking her attention, you come across as confident and self-assured. And these qualities are magnetic. You're not needy, and you're not desperate for her validation. Instead, you value your time and your life. You're a man who doesn't need to constantly engage to feel validated. By withholding your presence, you demonstrate that you have control over your emotions and your actions. This approach mirrors the Stoic belief in self-reliance and emotional discipline. The Stoics practiced letting go of the need for external validation, focusing instead on internal strength. By not contacting her, you're embodying this very philosophy. You're showing that you are in control, not driven by impulses or the need for reassurance. And that emotional self-control is undeniably attractive. Now, don't mistake this for advice to ignore her indefinitely. At some point, she'll likely be curious about your silence, and when she reaches out, you've successfully shifted the dynamic. Suddenly, she's the one initiating contact. You've created a situation where she misses you, even if she didn't care much at first. Now, she's more invested in the interaction than before, and that gives you the upper hand. In conclusion, the power of absence. Don't underestimate the power of silence. By not contacting her, you create a space that forces her to reflect on her feelings and realize what she's missing. You're no longer just a guy she talks to, you become the guy she thinks about. You become the one who stands out from the crowd. This is the first step in making her miss you, even if she wasn't initially interested. When you embrace the power of silence, you open the door to a new dynamic, a dynamic where she begins to miss you, desire you, and ultimately want you more than she ever thought possible. Number 2, make her wonder, keep living your life. Here's a hard truth. One of the most powerful ways to make a woman miss you is to show her that your life hasn't skipped a beat without her. The moment you stop chasing her and instead dive back into your own goals, passions, and social life, something interesting happens. She starts to notice. Women are naturally drawn to men with a sense of purpose. Men who are focused on their own journey. Men who are living a life that doesn't revolve around anyone else. When you show her that you're thriving without her, it sparks curiosity. And curiosity leads to intrigue. And intrigue? That's the first step to making her miss you. Think about this for a moment. If you've ever studied the Stoics, you'll know they preach the importance of inner strength and self-reliance. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in history, spent his life emphasizing the value of staying grounded in your own path, regardless of outside influences. In modern dating terms, that means never putting your life on hold for anyone, especially not for a woman. Here's the deal. When you stop centering your actions around her, when you start investing in your own life, your career, your hobbies, your friendships, you send a clear, undeniable message. I don't need you to complete me. My life is already full. Now imagine this. While she's busy wondering why you've suddenly gone quiet, she casually checks your social media. Instead of seeing sad, lonely posts or desperate attempts to get her attention, she sees something else. You're out having fun with friends, you're hitting the gym, you're traveling, pursuing passions, living life. And guess what? That hurts. Why? Because one of the deepest fears many women have is the fear of being replaced, or worse, forgotten. When she realizes your life didn't come to a standstill after she left, a little seed of doubt gets planted. Maybe you've moved on. Maybe you've met someone new. Maybe she misjudged your worth. And that doubt, it starts to grow. The fear of missing out, the anxiety of being left behind, and the creeping realization that she might have lost someone valuable, they all come crashing in. Here's where most guys mess this up. They hear this advice and think they need to rub their new, exciting life in her face. Big mistake. This isn't about showing off or bragging. It's about subtlety. Post a picture of you hiking with friends. Share a quick clip of you at a concert. Maybe you're reading a great book or trying a new hobby. The key is to let her see glimpses of your life, enough to make her wonder, but never enough to seem like you're trying too hard. Because here's the kicker. The more she sees you thriving, the more she'll want to be part of it. The best part? This approach works whether she was interested in you before or not. Even if she wasn't paying much attention to you before, seeing you live a full, independent life triggers a different response. Suddenly, she's asking herself, why isn't he chasing me like everyone else? What's making him so content? And once she starts asking those questions, you're already winning. The Stoics believed that true fulfillment comes from within, not from external validation. And that's exactly what you're showing her when you live your life without seeking her attention. You're proving that your happiness doesn't hinge on her presence. That's incredibly attractive. Why? Because most men do the opposite. Most guys chase. They text too much. They rearrange their schedules for a chance to see her. They seek validation from her responses, but not you. You're different. You've shown that your time is valuable and your life is rich, with or without her in it. Now, here's the crucial part. You've got to mean it. You can't just pretend to live your best life for a few days, hoping she notices, and then fall back into old habits. This mindset has to become your reality. You have to fully embrace the idea of self-sufficiency. When you genuinely start living for yourself, she'll sense it. Women have an uncanny ability to detect authenticity. If you're faking it, she'll know. But if you're truly thriving, she won't be able to ignore it. And that's when the dynamic shifts. At some point, she'll reach out. It's inevitable. Her curiosity will get the better of her. She'll want to know why you disappeared, why you've been so quiet. But when she does, the power balance will have changed. You're no longer the guy waiting by the phone, hoping for her attention. You're the guy living a fulfilling, exciting life, and she's the one who's curious about you now. Here's the truth. People miss what they no longer have access to, and when she sees you living your life without her, she'll feel the distance you've created. That distance will make her think, wonder, regret. Even if she didn't care before, she'll start to feel a sense of loss. Because deep down, she'll know you've become someone who doesn't need her validation to feel complete. That's a rare thing, and it's powerful. In the end, keep building your empire. Living your life to the fullest is one of the most effective ways to make her miss you. You're not sitting around waiting for her text. You're out there, building your empire. And as the Stoics remind us, true strength comes from within, not from external praise or recognition. When you embody that, she'll feel it, and trust me, she'll miss you. Number 3, master the art of ignoring the bait. Women are subtle experts when it comes to grabbing attention. They know how to drop hints, a well-timed text, a carefully crafted social media post, designed to make you react. But here's where most men go wrong. They fall for it. Every time. They take the bait, respond immediately, and unknowingly hand over their power. If you want to flip the dynamic and make her miss you, the answer is simple. Don't give in to the attention bait. Think about this for a moment. When a woman sends a casual, "Hey, how have you been?" or posts a story with a song lyric that seems oddly relevant to your past conversations, it's rarely by accident. These little gestures are strategic moves to gauge your interest. But here's the Stoic truth. The less you react, the more you control the situation. When you don't jump at every crumb of attention she throws your way, you become different from the majority of men she's encountered. Most guys eagerly respond, craving validation and hoping for another chance. But not you. You're calm, you're composed, and that composure makes her start questioning things. Why ignoring the bait works. It's human nature to want what you can't have. When you don't react to her attempts at drawing you in, you immediately create an air of mystery. She begins to wonder why you're not responding like all the others. Is he busy? Has he moved on? Is he interested in someone else? The more unanswered questions you leave, the more she thinks about you. And the more she thinks about you, the more she misses you. Remember the Stoic principle of not letting external forces dictate your emotions. Marcus Aurelius himself would have advised you to keep your cool, stay in control, and not be swayed by the little nudges from someone trying to pull you off your path. Emotional discipline is key. When she sends that casual text, don't rush to reply. In fact, don't respond at all, at least not immediately. Instead, let her mind wander. Let her overanalyze your silence. The more time that passes, the more she starts to doubt her own tactics. Why isn't he responding? What's going on in his life that's keeping him so occupied? That curiosity turns into longing. The power of scarcity. Think about basic economics. Scarcity increases value. If you're always available, your value diminishes. But if your time and attention are limited, suddenly they become precious. By not taking the bait, you're teaching her a lesson in scarcity. Your attention is a privilege, not a given. When she realizes she can't have you at her beck and call, she starts to value your presence far more. She begins to appreciate the moments when you do engage, because those moments are rare. Most men make the mistake of constantly chasing after women's attention. They fall into the trap of seeking validation. But you're different. You're not playing that game. You're showing her that your time is valuable and that you won't be manipulated by subtle hooks for attention. Spotting the bait. Women might not even realize they're doing it, but the attention bait is real. It can come in many forms. A selfie with friends at a party. It's meant to make you wonder, who's she with? Is she having fun without me? A casual text like, "Just thought of you," or "Missed your face today." These seem innocent, but they're designed to test your interest. A social media post with a quote or song lyric that holds sentimental value. It's a subtle reminder of your shared memories. Responding right away gives her the validation she's seeking. It tells her that she still has a hold over you. But when you hold back, something powerful happens. Her curiosity turns into confusion, and confusion turns into obsession. She starts thinking about you more than she intended, and that's when she begins to miss you. The beauty of silence. Silence is one of the most effective tools you can use. It creates a void that the other person feels compelled to fill. When you don't respond to her bait, she has no choice but to fill that silence with her own thoughts. And more often than not, those thoughts revolve around you. Silence makes her wonder. It makes her analyze. It makes her miss you. Think about it. The longer you go without reacting to her subtle hooks, the more powerful your presence becomes in her mind. You're no longer just another guy seeking her attention. You're the guy who's living his life, unfazed by her attempts to reel you back in, resisting the urge to react. Here's where the challenge lies. It's natural to want to reciprocate attention. When someone reaches out, our instinct is to respond. But the Stoics taught that real strength comes from mastering our impulses. By resisting the urge to react, you're showing emotional strength. You're proving that you're not someone who can be easily swayed by external forces. You're in control of your actions, and that's an incredibly attractive quality. At first, holding back might feel uncomfortable. You'll be tempted to text back or like that photo. But the longer you practice restraint, the more natural it becomes. And the more she feels the distance you've created, the more she'll want to bridge that gap. Flipping the script. When you don't fall for the bait, you flip the dynamic. She's no longer the one in control of the situation. You are. And that shift is significant. Now she's the one wondering if you've lost interest. She's the one questioning if you've moved on. And she's the one who starts to crave your attention. All it took was a bit of emotional discipline. In the end, less is more. When you resist the attention bait, you're not just playing hard to get. You're showing that your life doesn't revolve around her validation. You're demonstrating that your time is valuable, your attention is earned, and you're not someone who can be easily manipulated. The Stoics believed in the power of self-mastery. They taught that we should never let external events dictate our emotions. In modern dating, this wisdom translates into not reacting to every little attention hook a woman throws your way. So the next time you see that strategically placed selfie or receive a casual, just thinking of you text, remember this: the more you resist, the more powerful you become. Let her miss you in the silence, let her wonder. And when she starts to crave your attention, that's when you'll know you've truly mastered the art of ignoring the bait. Number 4, don't be eager, be vague. When you finally decide to make contact, the biggest mistake you can make is to come across as overly eager. Excitement is good in moderation, but when it crosses the line into desperation, it kills attraction. Instead, aim to be vague. Keep your responses light, mysterious, and open-ended. Why? Because people are naturally intrigued by what they don't fully understand. Think about the last time someone gave you a cryptic answer. Your mind probably went into overdrive trying to fill in the blanks. This is human nature. We crave clarity, and when it's not given, our curiosity heightens. The same principle applies here. The less you reveal, the more she'll think about you. This creates an air of mystery, which is far more compelling than being an open book. Consider the Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, who believed in mastering one's words and emotions. They understood that true strength comes from restraint. Not every thought needs to be expressed, and not every question needs a full answer. By embracing this mindset, you not only maintain control over the interaction, but also increase your value in her eyes. You're no longer just someone she can predict and figure out. You become a puzzle she's eager to solve. Let's break it down with a simple example. She asks, "What have you been up to lately?" Now, most guys would jump at the chance to share every detail of their lives, where they went, who they met, and what they accomplished. But you're not most guys. Instead of giving her a full rundown, you say something like, "Oh, just keeping busy," and then redirect the conversation. That's it. Simple, vague, and effective. What happens next? She's left wondering, what exactly have you been doing? Who have you been spending time with? Why aren't you sharing more details? These questions will linger in her mind, keeping you front and center in her thoughts. And that's precisely what you want, to be unforgettable, even when you're not physically present. It's important to strike a balance, though. Being vague doesn't mean being dismissive or cold. You're not shutting down the conversation. You're simply steering it in a way that keeps her curious. Imagine it like offering her a taste of something delicious. She gets a hint, but never the whole meal. That taste leaves her wanting more, and in that wanting, she starts to miss you. Many men fall into the trap of oversharing because they think it will make them more relatable or endearing. But in reality, it often has the opposite effect. When you lay everything out on the table, there's no intrigue left. She knows exactly where you stand, and there's nothing left for her to figure out. Attraction thrives on mystery, and being vague feeds that mystery. Another crucial point to remember is that eagerness can come across as insecurity. When you're too quick to respond or too eager to share every detail, it signals that you're seeking her approval. This puts you in a position of lower value. However, by holding back and maintaining some mystery, you convey confidence and self-assurance. You're showing her that you don't need her validation to feel good about yourself. That kind of self-control is rare and incredibly attractive. The Stoics would call this emotional discipline. They believed that true power comes from within, from mastering one's desires and impulses. When you choose not to give in to the urge to overshare, you're demonstrating that discipline. You're showing her that you're in control of your emotions, not the other way around. Here's the kicker. The more she wonders about you, the more she'll miss you. Curiosity leads to daydreaming. She'll start imagining what you've been up to, who you've been with, and why you're not as forthcoming as other guys. And in that process of wondering, she becomes emotionally invested. Now, let's address a common misconception. Some men think that being vague means playing games or being manipulative. That's not what this is about. It's about maintaining healthy boundaries and valuing your own privacy. You're not obligated to share every detail of your life with someone, especially if they haven't earned that level of trust and intimacy yet. By being selective with what you share, you're protecting your energy and your emotional well-being. Let's circle back to that earlier example. She asks, "What have you been up to?" Instead of giving her a detailed itinerary, you say, "Oh, just the usual," with a playful smile. If she presses for more details, keep it light. You know, a bit of work, a bit of fun, and then shift the conversation to her. What about you? Anything exciting happening? This shows that you're interested in her life without making yourself an open book. Another benefit of being vague is that it prevents you from coming across as too available. Availability is a double-edged sword. While it's important to show interest, being too available can make you seem less valuable. People tend to take for granted what's always there. By maintaining a bit of mystery, you're reminding her that your time and attention are precious commodities. Remember, this isn't about playing hard to get. It's about showing self-respect. You have a life filled with your own goals, passions, and responsibilities. You're not sitting by the phone waiting for her to call. You're out there living your life, and when you do engage with her, it's on your terms. In conclusion, don't be eager. Be vague. Keep some things to yourself and let her imagination do the rest. The less she knows, the more she'll wonder. And the more she wonders, the more she'll find herself missing you. As the Stoics taught, true strength lies in restraint. Master that, and you'll master the art of creating lasting intrigue. Number 5. Create jealousy. Jealousy is a potent force in relationships. It can stir emotions and heighten desires, making someone realize what they might be missing. However, it's important to note that creating jealousy isn't about manipulation or playing games. It's about subtly showcasing your value and reminding her that you're a man who's in demand. It's human nature to want what others want. When she sees that others enjoy your company and value your presence, it sparks an instinctual reaction that can make her miss you more. Let's be clear, this doesn't mean you should intentionally try to make her feel insecure or inferior. That's not what this is about. The goal is to remind her that she's not the only person in your world and that your time and attention are valuable. The moment she realizes she has to share your attention, her desire for you will naturally increase. Why? Because people are drawn to what they perceive as scarce and valuable. Consider this. When a woman feels like she's your sole focus, there's no urgency for her to invest more effort. But when she sees that your attention is a limited resource and that others are competing for it, she'll start to crave it more. It's basic psychology. When something seems harder to obtain, it becomes more desirable. The same principle applies here. The Stoics understood this dynamic well. They believed in maintaining emotional independence and not being swayed by external factors. In your case, this means not relying on her attention to feel validated. Instead, you're showing her that you're living a fulfilling life, surrounded by people who appreciate your presence. And this is where the subtle art of creating jealousy comes in. Imagine you're out with friends, enjoying yourself and making memories. You don't need to broadcast every detail, but when she asks what you've been up to, casually mention that you've been busy spending time with others. Keep it vague though. Don't go into specifics. Say something like, "Oh, just catching up with some people." The key is to plant a seed of curiosity without revealing too much. Why does this work? Because it leaves her mind to fill in the blanks. She'll start wondering, who is he spending time with? Are there other women involved? Why hasn't he told me more? This curiosity can quickly turn into intrigue, and that intrigue will make her think about you more. And the more she thinks about you, the more she'll start to miss you. Here's the thing. Women are naturally competitive when it comes to high-value men. When she sees that you're not sitting around waiting for her, that others are enjoying your time and attention, it triggers a sense of competition. She doesn't want to be replaced or forgotten. This realization makes her want to secure her place in your life even more. But it's essential to strike the right balance. Creating jealousy should never be about making her feel inadequate or unworthy. It's about demonstrating that you have a full life and that your time is valuable. You're showing her that you're not desperate for her attention. You're a man with options, and that makes you incredibly attractive. Think about the Stoic principle of emotional detachment. The Stoics taught that true strength comes from within, from not being overly influenced by external validation. By embodying this mindset, you're not seeking her approval or chasing her attention. Instead, you're focused on living your best life, and that's precisely what will make her want to be a part of it. It's important to note that jealousy works best when it's subtle. You don't need to post pictures with other women or flaunt your social life on social media. In fact, overtly trying to make her jealous can backfire and come across as immature or desperate. Instead, let her see glimpses of your life that suggest you're enjoying yourself and that you have a vibrant social circle. For example, if she asks what you did over the weekend, you might say, "Had a great time with some friends," without elaborating. If she presses for details, keep it light and playful. The goal is to keep her guessing. The less she knows, the more her mind will wander, and that's when jealousy starts to take root. Remember, it's not about being secretive or deceitful. It's about maintaining an air of mystery and showing her that you have a life outside of her. When she realizes that she's not your sole focus, she'll start to appreciate your attention more. She'll see that your time is valuable and that she needs to earn it. The beauty of this approach is that it taps into a primal instinct. Women want to feel special and chosen, but they also want to know that they're competing for a high-value man's attention. When you create a little healthy competition, you're reinforcing your value and making her realize that you're someone worth pursuing. Over time, this dynamic will shift the power balance in your favor. She'll start to see you as a man who isn't easily swayed or controlled. You're in charge of your life, and you're not desperate for her validation. This emotional independence is incredibly attractive, and will make her think about you more often. And when she starts to miss you, it won't be because you played games or manipulated her feelings. It will be because you showed her that you're a man who knows his worth. You're someone who has a life filled with meaning, connections and purpose, with or without her. And that's exactly the kind of man women can't help but miss. Number 6. Give her a nickname. Nicknames might seem like a small thing, a playful quirk perhaps. But in reality, they hold a surprising amount of psychological power. When you give a woman a unique nickname, you're doing something far more impactful than just calling her by a cute term. You're creating a personal connection that no one else shares with her. It's a subtle, yet deeply effective way of building intimacy without grand gestures. The Stoics understood that real bonds are built through shared experiences and personal touches, and a special nickname taps into this truth. So, why does this make her miss you? It's simple. Every time she hears that nickname, whether from you or just in her own mind, it pulls her back to the emotional connection you shared. It's as if you've etched a private message in her subconscious. That nickname becomes a mental bookmark, tied to the unique rapport you built. Once you've created some distance, she'll start to notice its absence, and that absence will make her miss the way you made her feel, like she was someone special to you. But here's the key: don't overuse the nickname. The power of a nickname lies in its exclusivity and rarity. If you call her by it constantly, it loses its magic. Instead, drop it into conversations casually, almost strategically. Let it feel spontaneous but meaningful when you use it. The more sparingly and deliberately you deploy it, the more it will stick in her mind. She'll start to associate that nickname with moments of warmth and connection, and when you pull back, she'll long to hear it again. Think of it like a secret code between the two of you. A nickname isn't just a word. It's a marker of familiarity, of shared moments that no one else gets to access. It tells her that she occupies a unique space in your life, that she's not just another person, but someone you see in a distinct light. This feeling of being set apart is powerful. It taps into a deep emotional need to feel valued and special. When you give her that nickname, you're doing more than just using a term of endearment. You're subtly laying claim to a part of her identity, creating a bond that sets her apart from others. And when that nickname suddenly goes silent, it leaves a noticeable gap. She'll start to think, why hasn't he called me that lately? Does he still think of me that way? And once those thoughts creep in, you're in her head. Now imagine pairing this with the strategy of emotional detachment. You've already pulled back your attention, creating space and mystery. But now, she's also missing that unique nickname, the personal touch that made her feel special. It's no longer just your presence she craves, but the feeling of being seen in that unique way. Even if she wasn't fully invested in you before, the nickname plants a seed of emotional connection that continues to grow in your absence. Here's a subtle psychological trick at play. By giving her a nickname, you mark her as part of your inner circle. It's an unspoken signal that she holds a privileged position in your life. And when you stop using it for a time, she feels that shift. She misses the feeling of being singled out, of having a personal bond with you that others don't share. This tactic works because people naturally long for what they perceive as scarce. If your attention and your unique way of addressing her become less available, she will begin to appreciate their value even more. It's human nature to want what feels exclusive, and your nickname for her becomes one of those exclusive things. She'll start to wonder who you're spending time with, and if anyone else gets to hear that special nickname. That curiosity and sense of competition will spark an emotional reaction. But be careful. Creating jealousy should never be the goal. The Stoics would caution against manipulating emotions for personal gain. Instead, think of this as a way to build meaningful connections that hold emotional weight. When you give someone a special nickname, it's not about control or power. It's about creating a bond that feels genuine and lasting. The Stoics also believed in the power of words and their careful use. They saw words as tools that should be wielded wisely, not wasted on trivial matters. A nickname, used sparingly and with intention, becomes one of those powerful tools. It conveys more than just affection. It signals recognition and significance. And in a world where people often feel overlooked or replaceable, that feeling of being uniquely valued stands out. When she starts to miss that nickname, she's not just missing a word, she's missing the connection it represents. She's longing for the feeling of being special, of being seen in a way that no one else sees her. That's a potent emotional draw. And when someone misses you for who you are and how you make them feel, they're not just thinking about you, they're yearning for your presence. So, when you're building connections, remember that small, thoughtful actions can have a profound impact. A simple nickname used wisely can create a lasting emotional bond, and when you pair that with emotional discipline and restraint, you're creating a dynamic where she not only misses you, but values the unique connection you share. It's not about playing games, it's about understanding human nature and building relationships with depth and meaning. Number 7, teach her something new. One of the most impactful ways to leave a lasting impression on a woman is to teach her something new. It's not about showing off your knowledge or expertise, it's about creating a meaningful connection through shared growth. Whether it's a skill, a unique perspective, or even a hobby she's never explored, teaching her something she finds valuable will make you memorable in a way that simple compliments or conversations can't. And the best part? She'll associate that new knowledge with you, even when you're no longer around. The Stoics believed that continuous learning was the path to personal growth and inner strength. They valued knowledge as a means of achieving emotional resilience and wisdom. In relationships, this principle is incredibly powerful. When you introduce a woman to new ideas or experiences, you position yourself as someone who enriches her life. She'll begin to see you not just as someone she's talking to, but as someone who's contributing to her personal development. And that's a bond that sticks. Why does this work so well? Because people naturally feel a connection to those who help them grow. Think about your own life. The teachers, mentors, or friends who've taught you something meaningful probably hold a special place in your memory. The same principle applies here. By being the person who opens her mind to something new, you're creating a unique emotional link. Every time she uses that knowledge or reflects on that experience, she'll think of you. It's a subtle yet powerful way to stay on her mind long after your interactions have ended. But here's where things get interesting. The impact isn't just about the information you share, it's about how you share it. The key is to be genuine and passionate without coming across as arrogant or condescending. People are drawn to those who share knowledge with humility and enthusiasm. When you teach her something, let it be a natural part of your conversations. Don't lecture or overwhelm her with information. Instead, weave it into your interactions in a way that feels organic. For example, let's say you introduce her to a new book or philosophy. Instead of saying, "You need to read this," you might say, "I came across this book recently, and it really changed how I view things. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it." This approach invites her to engage without feeling pressured. It makes her feel like a valued participant in a shared experience rather than a passive recipient of your wisdom. And here's the twist. Once you've shared something valuable, step back. Let her absorb it on her own. The Stoics believed in self-reliance and the importance of internalizing lessons independently. By giving her the tools to explore something new and then pulling back, you're showing that you trust her ability to grow without needing constant guidance. This subtle withdrawal creates space for her to reflect on what you've shared and on you. This space is crucial. When you give her something to think about and then remove yourself from the picture, you're creating an emotional gap that she'll feel compelled to fill. She'll start associating that new knowledge with you and wonder why she's thinking about you even when you're not around. It's not manipulation, it's human nature. We tend to reflect on those who've had a meaningful impact on us, especially when they're not immediately available. Imagine you teach her something as simple as a new cooking technique. Every time she prepares that dish, she'll remember where she learned it. Or perhaps you introduce her to Stoic philosophy. Every time she comes across a quote from Marcus Aurelius, she'll think of the conversations she had with you. The knowledge becomes intertwined with her memory of you, creating a lasting impression. This approach also sets you apart from other guys. Most men focus on surface-level interactions, compliments, jokes, or small talk. But when you challenge her to think differently, to see the world from a new perspective, you stand out. You become someone who adds value to her life in a way that's rare and memorable. You're not just another voice in her inbox. You're someone who makes her feel enriched and inspired. And this tactic works, even if she's not initially interested. Why? Because personal growth is universal. Everyone appreciates someone who helps them improve or see things differently. Even if she wasn't thinking about you romantically at first, the emotional bond formed through shared learning can change that. She'll start to see you as someone who brings more to the table than just attention or validation. But remember, it's not about overwhelming her with knowledge or trying to impress her with how much you know. The Stoics believed in balance, using words sparingly and wisely. Your goal is to share something meaningful and then step back, letting her explore it on her own terms. This restraint shows confidence and emotional maturity, qualities that are incredibly attractive. The final, powerful layer to this tactic is the emotional bond formed through shared experiences. When you teach her something, you're creating a moment that belongs solely to the two of you. Even if she tries to push you out of her mind, those moments will keep resurfacing. She'll remember how you made her feel, challenged, inspired, and valued. And those feelings will linger long after you've stopped reaching out. The Stoics knew that true strength comes from within. By teaching a woman something new, you're not just helping her grow, you're demonstrating your own inner strength and self-reliance. You're showing that you have something valuable to offer beyond surface-level interactions. And in doing so, you're ensuring that you remain a part of her journey, even when you're not physically present. In the end, this isn't about manipulation or tricks. It's about understanding the human desire for growth and connection. When you provide someone with new knowledge or perspectives, you create a bond that's hard to break. By combining this tactic with emotional detachment and self-assurance, you're embodying the very principles the Stoics valued. And that's what will make her miss you. Teaching her something new isn't just about impressing her. It's about leaving a meaningful mark on her life. It's about becoming someone she thinks about every time she uses that skill or reflects on that idea. And when that happens, she'll realize that your impact goes beyond the surface. She'll miss the conversations, the insights, and the value you brought into her life. And that's when you've truly made yourself unforgettable.